Hello, everyone. I hope you can see me. We are back with another live session at Speakers Circle. Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope that we have a really good time today. So, I just wanted to let you know certain basic things about Speakers Circle. It's a community platform where our main focus is learning public speaking and communication skills, and we have a couple of activities that go on at Speaker Circle, and this is one of them. So every Thursday we have a live session wherein we do things such as book reviews, movie reviews, storytelling, and poetry recitation. So these kind of things are like other various forms of public speaking that we encourage, and you guys can feel free to give your opinions, share your reviews, and what do you feel about this live session in the comments section. So just send me a hi, and we'll know that you are there, you're watching, and you're here with us. My name is Zaina Rafique, and I'm going to be hosting today's live session. So I am from Ahmedabad. I am a student. I'm in my last semester, just like a few months away from graduating. I'm also a member at Speaker Circle, which means I keep on doing activities like these. So send us a hi, and we'll know that you are there, you are watching us, and let's get started. So today we are going to have a storytelling session. We have had almost, I guess, over 6 to 7 storytelling sessions at Speaker Circle. We also once invited the famous storytelling expert Geeta Ramanujan ma'am on this platform to share her views about becoming a good storyteller. So storytelling kinds of puts the magical element into public speaking. So I'm pretty sure, in especially in Indian culture, we have a lot of stories that we hear from our grandparents, our parents, our elder siblings, and of course the people surrounding us. They tell us stories to maybe teach us some morals that you should not do like this, or to give us some message. We also had a lot of stories in our textbooks while growing up. We used to see stories on the television. There were certain channels that used to broadcast these stories. And did you know it's not just for kids? So if you're watching an advertisement, and if they have some kind of storytell line that goes on, that's also storytelling. If you are listening to a podcast, they are giving an example of somebody's life or some experience. That is also storytelling. If you are in a class and your teacher is teaching you something about uh, some concept, and she or he is giving you an example through an entire experience, like what happened and this person was there and he tried to do this, that is also storytelling. So storytelling is more common than you think. Okay, so we are having four incredible storytellers with us today, who are going to be, I'm not going to disclose what they are going to be talking, because let the magic take the form themselves. So our first storyteller is somebody who is from Ahmedabad. She has done BCom. She is currently self employed. She runs her own classes for phonetics and English. She has 19 years of work experience. She likes to sing and dance. Welcoming Anita Goyal. Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening, Jana. Thank you very much for lovely introduction.
Okay, so Anita's story title is Don't Follow Anything Blindly. Do you follow things blindly, Anita, ma'am?
No,
No,
firstly,
so you are here to tell the message that one should not, right?
yes.
Okay, okay, over to you.
Okay, yes. Aruna Marg was a busy road. It connected a number of villages to each other, and many people, animals, and cars used it every day. Walking along that road, a group of students discovered a rock which no one had bothered to look at in many years. Look, they told each other in excitement. There is something written on the rock. What can it mean? They called out to their teacher. When they examined the rock carefully, They found the markings were actually little drawings. One showed a stick and the other a donkey. By now, a large crowd had gathered. Everyone was puzzled. What could these strange drawings mean? They asked, scratching their heads. They decided to go to the ashram of wise sage nearby and ask him. But when they trooped into the ashram, they found to their disappointment that the sage had gone on a long pilgrimage. Only his young disciple was there, looking after his cows and calves. They asked the disciple if he could throw some light on the strange drawings. Now, this young man was not very bright, but like many foolish people, he loved to put on an air of learning and pretended to be very clever. He examined the drawings carefully and minutely. Then he proclaimed that it is very simple. This is the drawing of magic stick. The man with the stick is the hero of this place. He died protecting this village centuries back. Each person using this road must worship the rock and make an offering to it. The one who ignores it will become a donkey. The villagers were astonished to hear the strange explanation, but they were devout people, and on that very day, they set up a shrine around the rock. They installed the foolish disciple as head priest in charge of taking offerings from passing travelers. The disciple was pleased with his brainwave. Of course, he did not know what the silly drawings meant, but he no longer had to run after cows and get kicked by angry cows in the ashram. He could sit by the rock the whole day, taking his pick of offerings to the rock and mutter a few mumbo jumbo prayers. His happiness lasted a few months till the wise old sage returned to the ashram. The old sage was annoyed to find his disciple missing and his beloved animals roaming around uncared for. Then he looked into the distance and saw a large crowd gathered by the road. He went to investigate and found his missing disciple there, looking happy and well fed, busy accepting offering for a rock. He stood watching for a while. Then he walked up to the rock and closely examined the picture. Without saying a word, he picked up a stout iron rod and, to astonishment of the gathered crowd, started moving the rock. Many came forward to help him, and when they had been able to move the rock, they found a pot of gold under it. The sage said to the people gathered around him, the pictures meant you had to move the rock with an iron rod and find the hidden money. If you didn't, you were all like donkeys. You should not follow ritual and the words of others blindly. Think for yourselves and understand why you are doing what you do. If you had given this some thought, you would have recovered this treasure many months ago. Instead, you wasted your time and money making offerings to a rock and helping this greedy disciple of mine become fat and make fools of you. This treasure belongs to all of us. Let's use it to keep this road in good repairs so everyone can use it and go about their work in peace. The villagers hung their heads in shame, for they realized how foolish they had been. As for the disciple, he had to clean the cowsheds for many months to atone for his greed. Thank you.
Wonderful, Anita ma'am. So, this story I believe is very true with the current COVID situation, right? Like, people are believing any kind of news that comes on the internet that ye wali vaccine kharab hai, mat lo. So, wonderful story, wonderfully said, and I really appreciate your expressions, your way of, narrating. So, thank you so much again for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
All right, everyone. So that was Anita Goyal, and I really, really liked her story because we should not follow anything blindly. We should use our common sense in when it comes to certain things. Our next storyteller is someone who is also from Ahmedabad. She holds a PhD. She is self-employed, teaches English and French, and she has been into the education field for over 20 years. She likes to read, travel, and cook. So she is going to be narrating two interesting short stories with us. I welcome Himani Shah. Hello, good evening.
Hello, very good evening to all. And thank you, Zaina, for wonderful introduction.
You're most welcome. So the title of the first story is Power of Collectivity, and title of the second story is Can You Sleep When the Wind Blows? So over to you.
Thank you, Zaina. Okay, as we all know, storytelling is the most ancient art through which we pass our tradition, rituals, and culture to the next generation. It is the best medium to teach values, morals, and art of living. I am here to tell you two short moral stories. First one is power of collectivity. There was a farmer who grew excellent quality corn. Every year he won the award for the best grown corn. One year, a newspaper reporter interviewed him and learned something interesting about how he grew it. The reporter discovered that the farmer shared his seed corn with his neighbors. How can you afford to share your best seed corn with your neighbors when they are entering corn in competition with yours each year? The reporter asked. He was very surprised. The farmer replied calmly, Why, sir? Didn't you know? The wind picks up pollen from the ripening corn and swirls it from field to field. If my neighbors grow inferior corn, the cross pollination will steadily degrade the quality of my corn. If I am to grow good corn, I must help my neighbors grow good corn too. So is with our lives. Those who want to live meaningfully and well must help enrich the lives of others. For the value of a life is measured by the lives it touches. And those who choose to be happy must help others find happiness too. For the welfare of each is bound up with the welfare of all. That is the moral of the first story. And now I'll continue with the second one. And the first story also means like it is, you can call it power of collectivity, call it principle of success, you can call it a law of life. The fact is, none of us truly win until we all win. So that is the true essence of this story. And I'll come to the next one now. Can you sleep when the wind blows? It is a superb metaphorical exposition of the level of preparedness. Talks about the preparedness for life. Years ago, a farmer owned land along the Atlantic seacoast. He constantly advertised for hired hands. Most people were reluctant to work on the farms along the Atlantic. They dreaded the awful storms that raged across the Atlantic, wreaking havoc on the buildings and crops. As the farmer interviewed applicants for the job, he received a steady stream of refusals. Finally, A short, thin man, well past middle age, approached the farmer. Are you a good farmhand? The farmer asked him. Well, I can sleep when the wind blows, answered the little man. Although puzzled by this answer, the farmer, desperate for help, hired him. The little man worked well around the farm, busy from dawn to dusk, and the farmer felt satisfied with the man's work. Then one night, the wind howled loudly in from offshore. Jumping out of the bed, the farmer grabbed a lantern and rushed next door to hired hands' sleeping quarters. He shook the little man and yelled, "Get up! A storm is coming! Tie things down before they blow away." The little man rolled over in bed and said firmly, "No, sir, I told you I can sleep when the wind blows." Enraged by the response, the farmer was tempted to fire him on the spot. Instead, he hurried outside to prepare for the storm. To his amazement, he discovered that all the stay hacks had been covered with tarpaulins. The cows were in the barn, the chickens were in the coops, and the doors were barred. The shutters were tightly secured. Everything was tied down. Nothing could blow away. The farmer then understood what his hired man meant. So he returned to his bed to also sleep while the wind blew. When you are prepared spiritually, mentally, and physically, you have nothing to fear. You can sleep when the wind blows through your life. I hope these stories added some value to our lives and we can learn from it. That's it. Over to you, Zaina. Thank you.
Wonderful. So, from your storytelling, I could make out that you have narrated a lot of stories before because you were very expressive, and you could. I could actually imagine what you were saying and how the story was going. So, thank you so much for joining us today and narrating such a wonderful story.
Thank you.
All right, so that was two storytellers, and we had an amazing time so far. But don't go anywhere because we still have two incredible stories left. So, if you're watching us, type in the comments of how you're finding these stories. Do you have any famous folk tale or some kind of story that you have been listening since your childhood? Okay, and let us know. We'll surely connect to you. So, our third storyteller is someone who is a student in 11th Arts at DPS Gandhi Nagar. She likes to dance, sing, read, and write. And the title of her story is Albert Einstein at School. So, I welcome Elisha Tamboliya. Hi, Elisha.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Excited? Okay, so I'll
I
not
hope
take
that
your
is true.
limelight. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, the stage is all yours. Good luck.
Thank you, Zaina. So, hello everyone, I am Anita Goyals, and today I'm going to share a small part of a story about Albert Einstein. This is like a small incident of this is a small incident of his life when he was in his teenage years, and it shows how he was as a student in his school. So Albert Einstein, he's like a genius, and he has always been a really great physician. He has given us the famous formula of E equals to mc square, and there are just lots of things we know about him. But he was a different person during his school times. He used to get always arguments with his teachers. This is one of the incident of when he was in his school. One day, Albert Einstein was, sitting in his class and not paying attention. It was a history class, and his history teacher had asked him a question about a date for a battle, of a battle. But Albert Einstein didn't know. He he answered that instead of learning facts, I believe that education is something that comes from ideas. I don't see any point in learning these dates and when this battle happened and where did happen. But I feel like it will be more useful if we look more into the idea and the concept behind why this battle is happening and why have the soldiers agreed to fight. His history teacher didn't like this at all because they all have been conditioned to thinking that learning facts is education, but Albert Einstein was different. And if you meet someone different than you always feel like you don't like them. So the his relationship with his history teacher was not so good. And his history teacher always used to call him like, you are a disgrace to the family, you shouldn't waste your father's money, and shouldn't you come to school if you are not interested in learning this all these things. And Albert Einstein said that it is not my wish. Like, I just come for the happiness of my parents, and I don't think learning facts is education. I think it should more go to the beyond to the ideas and express it. Then only we can have geniuses like him. Uh, he used to live in Munich at that time, and he had a best friend named Yuri. Now Albert Einstein used to live alone, and his parents used to live in Milan. So Albert Einstein used to live alone in Munich, in a very like bad slum area, and the landlady that he used to live with was, very angry kind of person. She used to beat her children, she used to abuse them, and take out her husband's anger on them. And Albert Einstein, didn't. Einstein was really fed up of all these things that were going in his life. He always, the only time he could distract himself was during studying geology, the study of rocks, and when he was playing violin. Now one day he requests his best friend Yuri that, do you know any neurologist, a doctor, do you have any doctor friends who study about brains and nerves and everything? And Yuri said, like, I do have some medical students and I have a one friend named Ernest. I think he can help you. So Yuri goes and, tells Ernest about all these um, things that Einstein is going through. And Einstein was really fed up of going to the school and getting scolded from teachers in every day and, getting discipline every time. So he makes up this idea of having a nervous breakdown and get a like a medical certificate for and stay away from school for some time. So he asks Yuri for the help, and Yuri tells to Ernest about all these problems that Einstein is facing. And now, after a few days or weeks, Einstein finally goes to meet Ernest, and he was actually so worried, and he had thought that I will fake a nervous breakdown, this is not a big deal or something. But by the time he had actually went to the Dr. Ernest, he actually had become nervous and worried, and he actually had a breakdown. So he didn't fake anything in front of Ernest. And Ernest also understood that you are actually stressed out because of schools and all, and so he decided to help him. And he gave him a medical certificate for 6 months to stay away from school. And with that, Albert Einstein, he took the medical certificate to the school and he gave it to the headmaster. The headmaster was actually suspending him, but Albert Einstein, I'm leaving the school beforehand only, so it doesn't matter. And from then on, he had made a plan that within the 6 months, I will get a, I will try to get a audition in Milan with my parents in an Italian college, and I think the this small certificate and this appreciation post by my mathematics teacher would be good enough, because Einstein had a good relationship with his mathematics teacher. And his maths teacher used to tell him that you are even smarter than me, and I feel like by in a few years you could be teaching me also. He gave this appreciation to Einstein, and with this medical certificate and everything, Einstein leaves everything behind, and he goes to start his life journey. With the appreciation he got from his maths teacher, he could go into his favorite college, and he could study his favorite subjects and be who he is today. Hannah, really interesting. You didn't expect that Einstein would do something like this, having a nervous breakdown and everything.
All right, Alicia, wonderful story. I think we can all relate to Albert Einstein in some way or the other. He kind of went against the system to prove his point. So, thank you so much for this story. So, were you inspired by these kind of rebellious behavior by Einstein? तुम्हें भी ऐसा लगता है कि नहीं पढ़ना
Yes,
चाहिए?
partially yes, but the case is reversed actually, because I like learning history a lot and he hated history and loved maths,
Right.
but my case is reversed. I hate maths and love history. But also
So
the
that's the
sole
case with
reason
you when it comes to
why
science and
I
maths, right? Yeah.
choose him as the story, because we share the same birth date. So we have
Oh,
similar
okay.
kind of
That's
personality. So that was a
that's
very
nice.
silly reason to choose him.
That's all right. So you came here, you gave a wonderful story, and you were very expressive. You narrated it really well. Thank you so much, Alicia, for joining us. All right, everyone. So that was Alicia, but don't go anywhere. We have one more story that's left. Yeah, yeah, Sam Ninja or Samyak. She is not going to literally break a leg, but she did amazing. So thank you so much for your appreciation. So, yes, I agree with you that Einstein was always the quirky one. That's why he was Einstein. He was like a trademark in himself. So now we have another storyteller who is the last but not the least. She is also from Ahmedabad. She studied from ICAI. She works at AJ Jain and Company Chartered Accountants as an assistant manager. She likes to play cricket, travel, read, and listen to music. I welcome Vishwa Shah. Hi, Vishwa.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for
Good
the warm
evening.
welcome.
Yeah, you're most welcome. So, Vishwa's story title is The Archer. Vishwa, good luck to you. Over to you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. So, in the vast Himalayan range, there was a group of sages who didn't look for material wealth but possessed the knowledge of material wealth of the world. So, there was once a visitor amongst them, Julian, who was there to acquire knowledge from those sages. So, he was the pupil of them. One of the sages, Yogi Raman, was an expert archer. They used to go for a walk in the woods and practice archery. One day, Yogi Raman and Julian were taking a walk where they were discussing about the importance of goal setting. So, to illustrate his philosophy on the importance of goal setting, Yogi Raman offered a demonstration that Julian would never forget. The sage pulled out a rose and hung it on a huge branch of a huge oak tree. He then pulled out his favorite sandalwood bow and an arrow and a handkerchief. He then asked Julian to put the handkerchief on his eyes as a blindfold. How far away from the rose am I? Asked Yogi Raman. 100 feet, guessed Julian. Have you observed me in my daily practice of this ancient sport of archery? Queried the sage. Yes, I have never seen you miss a bull's eye from even a distance of 300 feet, Julian noted dutifully. Then, with his eyes closed, his feet securely on the ground, Yogi Raman took aim on the branch where the Rose was hung, and he missed it by an embarrassingly large distance. I thought you were going to display more of your magical abilities, exclaimed Julian. So Yogi Raman said, today's demonstration was for you to understand that you will never be able to hit a target unless you see it. People spend their whole lives dreaming of becoming happier, living with more vitality, and having an abundance of passion. Yet they do not succeed because they don't have clearly defined goals. How can you get somewhere if you don't know where to go? How will you set your compass if you are sailing when you don't know your destination? This very simple technique of Yuki Raman was so effective that it left a life changing message for Julian Mentor. What over there we saw was they just confirm that most important principle of anyone seeking to attain their goal and fulfill their life's purpose is that you cannot hit a target unless you can see that. Now, goal setting will make your life magnificent. Your world will become richer, more delightful, and more magical. Our ancestors have taught us that setting clearly defined objectives for what we desire in our mental, physical, and spiritual world is critical to their realization. Mark, it is really critical to their realization. If we have clearly defined objectives with respect to the peace of mind we desire, with respect to the material I want to possess, wouldn't it be quite easy to know where we want to reach and how to do that? Anyone who wishes to improve the quality of their inner as well as outer worlds would do well to take out a piece of paper and start writing out their life's aim. At the very moment that this is done, natural forces will come into play which start to transform these dreams into reality. So, what you're waiting for? Take a pen and a paper and start noting down your goals that you have to achieve over the period of time. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful narration, Vishwa. So, since you're the last storyteller for the day, I have a question to you. Do you really believe that storytelling is always the better option when it comes to, breaking down complicated life messages to people? Or do you agree with the common notion that storytelling is just for kids?
No. Story. See, I heard somewhere that the best thing through which you can explain something to someone is an example or a story.
Right.
So
Right.
that sir used to tell that stories or an example are not the best way to teach someone, they are the only ways to teach someone. So
Right.
you learn more
Right.
from stories and experiences than you learn from just listening to what someone has to say. Because over there you can relate to the characters and you can go into that.
That is very true. Even like most of us, even remember the teachers that used to teach us by narrating stories rather than the teachers who kind of just read from the textbook. So we all kind of
Exactly.
enjoyed stories. Yeah. So do agree that it's like it creates some kind of magic when it comes to conveying?
Definitely, definitely.
All right. Thank you so much again for joining us, Vishwa. It was lovely to have you here.
Same here.
All right, everyone, that were four incredible storytellers that we had today. How did you like the storytelling session? Was it really good? Did you enjoy? Could you relate to all the stories that were said? So all the stories were really beautiful. They had some kind of a strong moral or a message. So that's the purpose of stories, right? At the end, you have something to learn from, and it always kinds of help you picturize what is going on, what are the characters doing, and what exactly is happening. So as Vishwa said, it is the only way, or rather the ideal way, of explaining or conveying something to someone. I would totally agree on that. So thank you so much, all of you who are watching us, for joining us for this live session today. Don't worry, we are going to have a live session next Thursday as well. You will be get familiar with this space, okay? Because I'll be here every Thursday with something or the other. We are going to have so many things like poetry recitation. We have book reviews and movie reviews that are coming up, so you can join us and have fun. If you wish to join the Speaker Circle community, you can go to a Google form link that is there in the description. You can fill that up. We will add you to WhatsApp, and you'll be a part of our WhatsApp group where we share updates about our meetings and our activities. We have online meetings almost every Sunday, where we have prepared speeches by members and other activities, of course, related to public speaking for other people who are attending. So if you're joining, feel free to participate. We have one online meeting this Sunday as well, that is on 6th of February at 10:45 a.m. sharp. So if you want to join us, fill up the Google form and we'll see you there. And if you're already part of the community, you know what fun it is in the online meets. Okay, so this is your host Zaina Rafique signing off. Have a nice Thursday evening. Go have dinner with your family and sleep well.